supposed to go out there for like a semester of college, and I ended up never leaving. It's that energy on the dance floor that I think has, helped house music completely thrive from there.
Well, hello, let's get this party started.
60s and 70s, I think. It's just a great place to go out. There's something going on every night.
Picture right there.
It's just
10. Awesome. Well, GM. Good morning, Gary, Ada, Doug, Jasmine, Steve, GM.
Morning, Michael.
Awesome. Hey, you got a question? I see your hand is up. Are you just waving at me?
Well, yeah, I do have a question. Is Daine going to be on today?
Daine is going to be on today. As long as we each Venmo him $100, he'll be here on time.
Oh, so wait.
Yep.
Yeah,
yep.
I could give you my question. I was going to use it for Daine, but I could give it to you, and you could probably fill me in just as well as Daine.
Okay. Yeah, hit me.
So I've got a home I can assume in Tooele. They've got a 2.5% rate, and I haven't done one like that since 2019, and I can't remember what the best way is to protect me, protect the seller that I'm assuming the mortgage from, and I'm going to keep their mortgage. And then I'd like to turn around and sell it, keep the mortgage, sell it myself, and just carry the contract and keep that rate. Wondering what the best things are I could do at title to protect them and myself.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds great. Okay. Yep, several steps. If you're planning on selling it, there's going to be more steps than just holding it. But you're wanting to buy it essentially on seller financing and sell it on seller financing.
Basically, yes. And I might hold on to it. I might rent it if the rents are good, but I could definitely sell it for a profit if I can't get the rents that I need for it.
Gotcha. Okay, we have run each scenario, keeping it as a rental versus selling it, cash flow, benefits, all that. One thing I want to caution you though, when you're talking to people about this deal, is don't use the word assumption or assume.
Thank you.
Yeah, those are it's a very particular product and method. Like assuming a mortgage is very hard to do. Most people run away from it, and so you're not doing it. You're not doing an assumption. So I'd caution you about using that word.
Thank you very much. And I heard about it from a wholesaler, and the way he said it was, you would be assuming, and I'm like, thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. Is there a term that's used for taking over somebody else's mortgage?
The easiest way for title people to understand it is a wrap.
Okay, and I actually used that term a couple of times, thinking that's what it actually was.
Yeah, we're going to wrap the mortgage onto the new purchase. Because if you assume a mortgage, you literally have to go through the same qualifications that original borrower went through. Same income, credit reports, all that other stuff. And then they would take their name off of that mortgage and put your name on. That's an assumption.
Okay.
And you're not doing that. You're wrapping the existing mortgage onto a new purchase.
Okay. It already sounds more simple than I was thinking.
Cool.
Just because I've done the wraparound before, and that just makes more sense. I just could not remember, and I needed my memory to be jogged.
Well, good thing Renatus is here. Day in and day out, baby.
Well, and I thought about going on to my desktop and looking up and going, and who can I listen to? Who can I watch that's going to tell me the most on this? I'm like, man, I'm just going to chime in tomorrow with Daine and Michael and raise my hand.
Yeah, buddy. That's what we're here for.
And maybe there's others that are listening that could learn something from it. So.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a great selling point, by the way, folks. When you're going out there recruiting and someone has a hesitation, you can say, well, look, I was on the team call the other day. I haven't heard from Gary in 17 years, and he still showed up. And we were able to help him. I don't know how long it's been. It's been a minute.
I was gonna say, take 10 years off of there and you've got it. It's been 7.
Well, that's cool, man. Hey, you're still building a portfolio and things are still moving forward. That's great.
It's just amazing how time flies too.
Yeah. Yep. What do they say? Enjoy it while it lasts. Make hay while the sun shines.
Amen.
And dig your well before you're thirsty.
I like that one.
Awesome. GM Eric. Good morning, Pat, Aubrey, Jasmine. Excellent. Pete and Carla and Maylee. Okay, cool. Well, Daine will be here in just a minute, so let's go over a few things. First is we are 50 days, 42 minutes away from our E3 event. Get your tickets now. Get your tickets now. Yes, E3 will be online. You can zoom it in. Get your tickets right now. This should say early bird registration. Okay, we are 20 days away from the price going up. This is the early bird price. It's going to go up. It's going to go up 25% price increase in 20 days. So get your ticket now. And then as a reminder, there's also the VIP, which is $500, but it's all 3 days of VIP lunches with the instructors, the founder, the president, the CEO, other top investors. And then there'll be a meet and greet and a tour of the corporate studios. It'll be a whole big party. It's going to be awesome. So get your ticket now, adjust your schedule, tell your boss if you got a job, you feel way too good to come to work that day. And look at all these amazing people you get to learn from. This guy right here changed my life with his class. Seller finance notes. Once I understood that class, there's no stopping me. And yep, Wednesday is the corporate tour. And there are still some VIP seats available. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, I saw the top 10 was updated. But Mitch is still number 1 this week. So well done, Mitch and Maylee. Number 1 position. Number 2 is Christopher Jensen. Number 3 is Linda Thompson. Number 4, Michael Saunders. Well done, guys. Number 5, Linda Jensen. Number 6 is Cade Hebden. Number 7, Richard Stock. Number 8 is Jonathan Gomez. Number 9 is Leslie Wan. And number 10 position is Danny Say. Congrats to all of you for not only advancing your business forward, but also helping more people get into the wonderful world of real estate. Well done, everybody. And our quote of the day is, identify your problems, but give your power and energy to solutions. By Tony Robbins. That's an 80-20 right there. 80% of your time on solutions, 20% of your time on problems. Okay, if you try to do 100% on solutions, you will be what we call delusional. You need to look at the actual problem, but give your power and your energy to the solution. And what I found over the years is that the solution is typically one of 3 things. More information, right? Education, relationship or a network, introduction type of thing, or more time, try harder. So solutions, baby, they're out there. Let's go for it. One other thing we are getting in the habit of doing is the self-confidence formula. How many of you have memorized that yet? A little one page, 1 sheet self-confidence
I've never
formula.
heard of it.
Okay. Well, over the years, as different people have asked me, how do I get results like you, Michael? And I say, well, we have the same product, right? We're selling the same for the same company. We're selling in the same area. We have the same commission plan. You know, we went through the same training. So much is the same, but what's different? And why are some people getting a 10x result? Right? Some people are making 600,000 a year, and other people are making 60,000 a year, and some people are making 6,000 a year. What's the difference if there's so much that's the same? And one thing I've learned is self-confidence is one of the big differences. How do you develop self-confidence? You're not just born with it. It is fostered, it is cultivated, it is built. And Napoleon Hill wrote a book, 88 years ago it came out, and it's been one of the best-selling books of all time. Anyway, in there he found that the people who are achieving the most, regardless of their beginning stages of life, industry, age, the thing that tied them all together as high performers was self-confidence. So we're going to develop it, and he put together this mantra here to help us all. So here we go. Self-confidence formula. First, I know I have the ability to achieve the object of my definite chief aim in life. Therefore, I will demand of myself persistent, continuous action towards its attainment, and I here and now promise to render such action.
Second, I understand that the dominating thoughts of my mind eventually reproduce themselves in outward physical action and gradually transform themselves into physical reality. Therefore, I will concentrate my thoughts for 30 minutes daily upon the task of thinking of the person that I intend to become, thereby creating in my mind a clear mental picture of that person. Third, I know through the principle of autosuggestion, any desire that I persistently hold in my mind would eventually seek some expression through some practical means of obtaining the object of or position I desire. Therefore, I will devote 10 minutes daily to demand of myself the development of self-confidence.
Well said. Fourth, I've clearly written down a description of my definite chief aim, and I will always work until I develop sufficient self-confidence for its attainment. Fifth, I fully realize that wealth or position can long endure when built upon truth and justice. I will engage only in transactions that will benefit all whom it affects. I will succeed by attracting to myself the forces I wish to use in the cooperation of other people. I will induce others to serve me because of my willingness to serve them. I've eliminated hatred, envy, jealousy, selfishness, and cynicism, and I've developed a love for all of humanity, for I know that a positive attitude towards others will always bring me success. I will cause others to believe in me because I will believe in them and in myself. I will sign my name to this formula, commit it to memory, and repeat it aloud once a day in full faith that it will gradually influence my thoughts and actions so I will become a self-reliant and successful person. GM. Excellent. Thanks, Steve. That's key here. Self-reliant. That was what this whole country was built on. It was not kings, but self-reliance. Okay. And let's get this thing going in here. Self-reliance. Okay. Initiative. Whoops. What am I doing here? Got the wrong screen up. Initiative and leadership. Two things that are drastically missing in this world. Initiative and leadership. Having chosen a definite chief aim in life, as my life work, I now understand it is my duty to transform this purpose into reality. Therefore, I will form the habit of taking some definite action each day that will carry me one step near the attainment of my definite chief aim. I know that procrastination is a deadly enemy of all who would become leaders in any undertaking, and I will eliminate this habit from my makeup by A, doing some one definite thing each day that ought to be done without anyone telling me to do it. B, looking around until I find at least one thing that I can do each day that I have not been in the habit of doing and that will be of value to others without expectation of pay. C, telling at least one person each day of the value of practicing this habit of doing something that ought to be done without being told to do it. I can see that the muscles of the body become strong in proportion to the extent which they are used. Therefore, I understand that the habit of initiative also becomes fixed in proportion to the extent that it is practiced. I realize that the place to begin developing the habit of initiative is in the small, commonplace things committed or connected to my daily work. Therefore, I will go at my work each day as if I were doing it solely for the purpose of developing this necessary habit of initiative. I understand that by practicing this habit of taking the initiative in connection with my daily work, I will not only be developing that habit, but also I will attract the attention of those who will place greater value on my services as a result of this practice. G to the M on that. What makes the difference here? Initiative, self-confidence, doing the thing without being told to do it. Now, obviously, if you don't know what that is, you need to go through some training, then by all means, let's get trained up. But if you know what to do, don't wait for someone to tell you to do it. The pay difference, folks, the pay difference from doing the thing without being told to do it versus needing to be told to do it is a 100x difference. Right? The team members that I see making $500,000 a year, I don't have to tell them to do anything. But the people who are struggling to make $5,000 a year, $10,000 a year, they need a carrot and a stick. So don't be those people. Be the one with initiative, demonstrating to others you can do it without being told to do it. Perfect. All right. Eric, I will find out about tables and booths and such at the E3 event and get back to you on that. Okay. Well, GM, everybody. Good morning, Amy, Eric, Pat, Tamara, Daine, Aubrey. Wonderful. Everybody's here. Perfect. All right. Well, let's get into it. It's Wealth Wednesday. We've gone over the announcements, the schedule, self-confidence formula. We had a little dance party at the beginning. But let's get into some training, some ideas, some action. I know Gary has a deal he wants to bring up, so does Tamara. But before, let me introduce you to Daine. For those of you who are catching the recording as well, Daine has a tremendous love for people. I'm inspired by it. The way he starts conversations and turns them into deals is incredible. And yes, I have taken notes. But when he first joined our program, he was making $9 an hour, barely able to feed himself. He had a baby on the way and was a little bit, should we say, terrified of the living situation, the work, the schedule. He wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. Or a stay-at-home parent. He wanted his wife to be a stay-at-home parent. But how are they going to do it with $9 an hour at the job? Luckily, he had a friend who was a Renatus ICM. And that ICM said, come on down, come to a meeting, come and look at what I'm doing. In fact, that ICM was Mitch Nelson. And Mitch was not the Mitch Nelson we know now. He was still brand new to the whole thing. He still had his day job as well. But he said, I'm going to be a successful real estate investor. Come with me. And Daine showed up, saw the meeting and went, whoa, I think I could do this. And then his wife said, you better do this. And in his first year, he did some fix and flips, some rehab, started doing the property tour, started taking advantage of the marketing, and turned it all around. Set a goal to do 10 rentals, and that would set him free. Turns out he did 10 deals in a year. And now that he's been around for so long, he has surpassed 200 deals, surpassed 300 deals, and has been solving problems left and right, coaching, training, inspiring, becoming the best version of himself. And he now runs a big ranch up in Idaho. The guy's completely revolutionized his life. And one thing we admire about him is he pays it forward. So he continues to show up week in and week out, help us guide our new students so that they don't get into crazy real estate deals and they can go out there and do some honest and ethical work. Very grateful to have him here today on Wealth Wednesday. So let's give a big warm welcome to Mr. Daine Clark, GM.
Hey, what's up, guys? Happy Wealth Wednesday to you all. GM.
Yeah, buddy. Thanks for being here. How are you?
Good morning, everybody. But yes, super excited to be here. And May, let's see. I think I saw that Maylee's on. Maylee, thank you for having me last. Let's see, was that Thursday. Holy cow, it's been a week.
Yeah, tell us about it. What was it like being the guest speaker? How was the event? What did you notice? What did you like?
You know, it's crazy because I feel like I say this almost every time, but that group, oh man, they were so ready. It's funny because I always will plan certain things when I'm gonna go do a speech, whatever, do a training. And then people start asking questions, and I'm just like, derail. Like we're not doing what I prepared. Like I can tell what you guys need to hear. And so, I mean, we went into some stuff that I have never gone into ever in front of a room. And yeah, and people were just asking questions about like the nitty-gritty. Because oftentimes in a presentation we'll share like, oh, here's like the nuts and bolts of how some things work, but I mean, people were asking like more nitty gritty than I've ever gone into before. And talked about raising money, talked about uh, structuring deals when you're lending. I mean, oh yeah, it was good stuff. Super good stuff.
Receptive minds.
So love it. But yes, what's cooking today?
So, I know Tamara's working on a deal, and also Gary is working on a deal, and he saw that it was Wealth Wednesday, and he's like, "Well, don't leave me out." So, he's working on a deal in Tooele and wanted to bring up some details, and I think it'd be a great exercise for everyone else to hear and walk through in their minds what steps you're going to take to acquire this property. So, Gary, go ahead.
All right. Can you guys hear me?
Loud and
Yes.
clear, GM.
Good morning. Hey, Daine, thank you. So
You
I've
bet,
got
dude.
I've got a wraparound or a wrap. Gonna take on their interest rate and keep their mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
And I may rent it. I may try to rent it, but my long-term goal is probably sell it, keep the mortgage the way it is. And so I know that's like a double wrap. Just wanted your guidance on what you thought would best protect me, best protect the person I'm buying it from, and how you would go about doing it.
Yeah. So do you know how I think I remember you had told me about this when it's a wholesale?
I heard about it from a wholesaler. Yes.
I see. So first question I always ask is who's going to have signing authority? Meaning, are you taking title? Are you doing like a contract for deed? Are you doing one of those like super, I don't want to call it sketchy because I mean it works, but are you doing the like you buy a trust and then you become beneficiary of the trust and so are they and you're the trustee kind of a thing? Like do you know what the structure is?
Well, I asked them those questions yesterday, and I was quite surprised at their answer. They didn't have the answers. And so they said we would talk again and touch base today, but he kind of thought it would be the trust. And I thought I definitely need some guidance on this because if these guys don't know what they're doing, then it could be bad.
So yeah, it might just be that you're dealing with like a peon at the wholesaler's office
Yes.
kind of a thing, or even like a wholesaler wholesaling another
Well,
wholesalers. I've
and
actually
he did say he's never done this before and this kind of thing. And he said, I'm mostly just helping these people out so they don't ruin their credit and everything. He said they're already behind.
yeah.
What you're gonna put down is just gonna reinstate the mortgage and then you'll take it over.
Cool. Cool. Yeah. And I was gonna say I've seen more than I ever have before this year. Wholesalers selling wholesalers deals, and there's like multiple layers, and then we get to the finish line, and there's like line item on the settlement statement, like this money to this person, this money to this person. But whenever I lend, I actually ask for like I want to see all the documents. Like I want to see all the way from the seller to whoever the person is I'm lending to. And it was funny because the documents were like A to B, B to C, like C to D, all in wholesale documents, and then we closed in the name of D. It was hilarious. And everybody's taking a little cut, and it's so funny. So this might be something like that. If they don't know what's going on, they're either a peon or yeah, exactly, Eric. They're either peon or they're doing something like this where they're like layers down. So I would just make sure you know where the signing authority is. My favorite way to buy, in fact, so we talked about, let's see, did we already talk about these? Let's talk about 3 different ways to take title. One is where you are directly on the deed, where you are on public record, either you or you LLC, either way, directly on the deed. And I guess I better say this, like I'm not an attorney, I'm not a real estate attorney, I'm not a financial planner, I'm not a nothing. I don't have a licensed anything except a driver's license. Um, so taking title. Now, if there's other equity, then they'll do what's called the all-inclusive trust deed. If there's no equity, then you just straight up take title, right? And I see a lot of people confused with this. Subject to financing. There's actually no documents that I'm aware of that say subject to across the top. Like there's no subject to documentation. Like you just take title. Subject to, in my opinion, means they just deed it to you. Now you might give them some money to do that, but the only reason there would be any other documents is if somebody else still has more equity in the property. And so if there is more equity, then you would see like an all-inclusive trust deed. If there is equity, so that's the first one that we'll talk about today. You take title directly. If it's truly subject to, no other documents. The mortgage, you just owe whatever the balance of the mortgage is. Nobody else is owed anything. And so I like to just get them out of there. Like if nobody else is owed anything else, I just like to get them out, meaning out of the documentation. Okay, the second thing could be maybe like a contract for deed. In that scenario, you don't take title. The previous owner takes it, or somebody else, like maybe your wholesaler, takes title, and you just have a contract between you and them that if you pay off that contract, then they will deed it to you. I sell a lot like this. When I am the seller financier, I sell a lot like this myself because yeah, it doesn't trigger due on sales and because title stays in previous owner, but there's other ways. There's other ways as a buyer that I like because I like signing authority personally. I don't want to have to go through somebody in order to do something to a house, like sell the house or refinance the house or whatever. In a contract for deed, that person has to sign. Now, yes, you can have things pre-signed and held in escrow. It is possible, but in my opinion, and I should even say my attorney's opinion, that's like a last resort. And so, yes, when I sell on seller financing, I technically will pre-sign a trust, not a trust deed, the deed. I will pre-sign a deed from me to them. We will pre-sign a release of notice of interest, stuff like that, and it's held in escrow. However, and I agree with my attorney on this one, only use that as a last resort. And so I don't like doing those to say, hey, the intention is to eventually use this. Like, no, if they pay me off, I will just sign a fresh trust, a fresh deed because it's dated like within days of when they would actually record it versus like, let's say the one I originally signed was like years old and dated from years ago. And then they go and try to sign, like it can raise questions. And so really the only reason I do it is like, what if I get abducted by aliens or something like that and they pay me off or they pay my heirs off and nobody's around to sign, then yes, go ahead and do that. And it's easily justifiable. Like, hey, here's why we're doing this. If questions arise. And so yeah, contract for deed, like I don't like being a buyer on contract for deed because of that the nature where you have to have other people sign for you to do anything, for you to refinance, for you to sell. The third option, and again, I'm sure there's, I mean, I know there are more, but these are like the main ones that I'm seeing, is the trust. And so they basically build a trust, they title the property in said trust, and you become trustee and beneficiary. And if there's any equity, oftentimes they'll make whoever has the equity partial beneficiary too. Now, in my opinion, these do they work? Yes, but it can get messy. The state of Utah doesn't have any documentation for templates, basically. Like the state of Utah has deed and trust deed templates. They have contract for deed template. You know, the state of Utah calls it uniform real estate contract, but the like national accepted term would be contract for deed. Uniform real estate contract, same thing. Just Utah calls it that. But there are templates directly from the Utah Division of Real Estate for contract for deed or uniform real estate contract stuff. There is none for the trust. And so the way that I would like, if I try to build an analogy with this, when people are using equity partners and they use directly on title, like they build an LLC and the LLC shares title on the deed, or they borrow money from somebody and they put that person as like a trust deed, maybe second position or whatever, but they're directly on title. In my opinion, the trust is like doing a joint venture, because depending on, you know, it opens up more room for fraud. And joint ventures, in my opinion, open up more room for fraud because no one's attached to title that brought money to the deal on a joint venture. Same thing with the trust. Like the trust is attached to title, but you just have trust documents that say like, oh, Gary is now the trustee, but you weren't the first trustee of the said trust. And so somebody could get real cute and say, oh, look, I am the original trustee of this trust. I want to sign to do a thing. And they could have sold and gotten paid on this house before you even had time to do anything. The only way you can enforce a joint venture or in these trust methods, arguably, is in court. And I don't like that. I don't like court. I've only had to be there one time in my entire life, and I don't like going there. No, I take it back twice. Once as like a what do they call that? A special witness, where I had to come and like kind of teach a strategy, and it was for real estate. I had to teach a strategy as well as say like, yeah, I was like ready to go with my anyway. So, but I have gone to court for one time for my own purposes, and it's not fun. I don't like it. And so if I can stay out of court, I will try to do that the best I possibly can. In the trust method, like to force any kind of enforcements, oftentimes it ends up in court. And because sometimes like I've seen one guy where he was looking at buying a house like this with the trust method, and instead of a foreclosure, you don't need to get paid sitting in court all day. Yeah. In the event of a foreclosure, so let's say that you do the trust method, at the end of the day, if they ever feel like they need to foreclose on you, all they do is have to sign a piece of paper and say, you're out. And they don't have to do a proper foreclosure. Like foreclosure laws are designed, yes, to help whoever the bank is in the deal, whether it's the bank for like the actual bank, or if it's for privately like seller financing who is acting like a bank essentially. The foreclosure laws are, yes, there to protect the seller, but they're also there to protect the buyer, the borrower, where there's waiting periods, like you have to file certain paperwork and then you have to wait for like 30 days, and then you have to file more paperwork and you have to wait, there's not 30 days. You have to file paperwork and wait 90 days, and then file more paperwork and wait another 30 days. And so there's all these laws to protect both sides, basically, to say, okay, you're allowed to do it in this amount of time, but on this, on this borrower side, it's like, okay, you have this much time to figure it out. And with the trust method, that's not the case. They can do creative things, or let's call it cute things, whatever you want to call it. They can do shady things or borderline fraudulent things. that they can just like sign paperwork and potentially kick you out. Now, obviously, not all trusts are like that, but again, they're a wild card. They're so unique that you can pretty much write them up to say whatever you want them to say, and potentially can get kicked out. So be so leery, cautious. I'm not saying don't do it. I almost am. But again, I'm not going to say don't do it. I'm just going to say if you do the trust method, like have your attorney review it. And I can almost guarantee what your attorney would say. It's like, Gary, you know, if you have an attorney review it, they're probably going to do something like that. Like, don't make me do this. That's my 2 cents though. And I'll say that is just the opinion of Daine. Take it or leave it.
That's all I wanted. And so your number one would be the all-inclusive trust deed.
That's only if there's equity. If there's going to be equity
And there is equity.
owed. What's that?
No, nobody's owed anything.
Okay, yeah. Then in that case, don't do anything like that. No trust deed, just straight up deed. So basically you say, okay, here's the, in fact, here, let's do this. I remembered to grab my iPad today. So let me share my screen real fast on this.
Awesome. Thank you.
That on, and then share screen. All right. That should let me, there we go. Share screen. And bam. There we go. All right, you guys see that okay?
Yes.
All right, let's change that. Today is 9/3. All right. Let's see. What was I talking about? If you have equity. So let's just try to like visualize equity per se. So let's say the house is worth, actually, what are you buying it for?
250.
250?
Yeah.
So purchase price, $250,000. Do you know how much is owed on the mortgage?
2 or 188, excuse me. 188 is owed, 250 is the purchase price.
Okay. And so are they asking you for?
And 350 is the value.
Current value or let's
current value.
Let's do white. So mortgage 188 and current value. So let's say appraisal. You said 350?
Yes.
350. And so are they asking you for 50, 60? Are they asking you for $62,000 down?
And no, they're only asking for 40. So like 238 is like the purchase price. I was just rounding it up to make your numbers easier.
Oh, I see. So 238. Whoops. And so you said $40,000 down is what they're asking from you.
Yes. And they said that will be the reinstatement of the foreclosure or the loan, and then their part.
So buyer brings $40,000, which means there is no equity for anybody else anywhere. Like Dunzo, Gonzo, none. No equity. And so in my opinion, of those 3 methods that we talked about, where true, let's call it true subject to on paper means straight up deed, nothing else, nada. So true subject to, all we do, and you can still do a settlement statement, and close with the title company. But the only paperwork that's going to be notarized by anybody is the seller. The seller is going to come in and sign, and the seller is going to sign the deed, and that's it. Well, they also better sign actually so I should say notarize. Because like typically when you're notarizing, you have like buyers notarizing, sellers notarizing, and it's true subject to the buyer doesn't notarize anything. Because there's no need. There's no equity for anybody else. The seller is basically going to notarize just the deed, arguably a warranty deed, hopefully a warranty deed. But could do like a quit claim deed. I used to think that was quick claim deed, quit claim deed. I would argue to try and do a warranty deed, but anyway, but some kind of deed, special warranty deed, quit claim deed. That's the only, and it's true subject to, that's the only document signed. I see people get mixed up on this all the time. Because there's no equity. Okay. So that's like favorite number one. Number two, we talked about contract for deed.
And
but again,
Daine, when you say no equity, you mean by no equity owed to anybody, correct? Like there's not a second mortgage or
nothing is owed to anybody else except this underlying mortgage.
Okay, correct.
So nothing else is owed. Like nobody survives closing. The seller is paid their whatever their cut out of the $40,000. The wholesaler is paid their cut out of the $40,000. Let's see, who else would be owed anything? Yeah, pretty much though. I mean, let's say there's like 2 wholesalers deep, whatever. But again, the wholesalers and the seller, are paid out of your down payment, and they are owed nothing else. There's no reason to do anything else cute, like a
Daine,
contract for deed.
That raises a question for me.
Or the trust.
I've read some of these where there's an option to buy and keep somebody's rate, keep somebody's loan, and they have solar panels that are owed. Would you consider that equity, or is that
if it
just
survives closing? So, are there solar panels on this house?
To my knowledge, there are, and I said they're paid off.
Okay, so only a solar loan would survive closing. Well, I should say it doesn't have to. In my opinion, if you buy a house and there's a solar loan, I would put the solar loan over here. Let's see, Lasso, where the solar loan is paid off out of closing, and the solar loan does not survive closing personally.
Okay.
Because then the panels are just paid off, and nobody, again, back to the like, nobody else is owed anything. And
right.
So
and then we've just got the deed.
Yeah. So if nobody else is owed anything, then yeah, get out of the paperwork, basically.
And I love that. And I love simple. So.
And so, because if you have a warranty deed, when you go to sell this, you don't have to go through anybody. You don't have to go through the wholesaler. You don't have to go through the seller. You don't have to go through the solar, the previous solar loan company. Nobody. All you have to do is go through the existing mortgage, which is the goal in this scenario. But if you leave a solar loan on there, they survive closing. If you do the contract for deed method, then the seller stays on title. If you do the trust method, arguably the wholesaler stays attached to title with potential signing authority and ability to foreclose on you. Imagine the wholesaler having the ability to foreclose on you.
Yeah, that was my concern when they told me they thought it would be in a trust. I'm like, I need more guidance. So, yeah. Well, thank you. That is it for my questions. don't know if anyone else has questions. I'll sit around and listen. If not, I appreciate your time and I'll sign off.
Awesome. But yeah, push for true. And you can even say like, dude, let's do like true subject to. Yeah. And again, you can use the like subject to seller financing is not like a thing. Like it's a slang word basically. Now on that warranty deed, it might use a little bit of language that says subject to. Like
That's okay.
direct, like on the warranty deed, there's oftentimes like a bullet list. Sometimes it's like, oh, subject to water rights, subject to taxes for 2024. So on the warranty deed, it's going to reference subject to that mortgage, but that's it. Like it still says warranty across the top. But use this to your advantage that there's no like subject to documentation, whatever. Use it to your advantage. Be like, no, dude, let's do a true subject to, because people will think they know what you mean by that, but nobody knows what you mean. But at the end of the day, like you can say it if you're catching my drift. Like, no, dude, let's just do true subject to. Keep it clean.
And thank you, and I appreciate that. And that's the first thing I came to him with was, I want my name on title. Is my name going to be on title? And he just didn't know, and that made me a little nervous. And then when you said trust, that's when I was like, okay, I need more guidance. And I was right to begin with. The way I was thinking anyways was I want to be on title.
Yeah, because if they do that, just real quick on this front, if they do this method, the wholesaler will probably stay in there and potentially the seller will probably stay in there. Somehow.
Yeah, the only way I would move forward with this is the true subject to.
Yeah. But yeah, great question. Let's see. I haven't been watching comments. Did anybody have follow-up questions? Cool.
I have a question if no one else does.
Awesome. Tamara, go ahead. Thanks, Gary.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So I'm entering a new part of like my business with the seller finance. Like I have the lease option side down. I'm still figuring out this now the seller finance. So I'm just curious, and I don't like have a business model exactly for it laid out, all the details yet, but I'm just curious, like in your opinion or experience, what could or have been some of the downsides of seller finance?
Downsides.
You haven't foreclosed on anyone, or you did one?
So I have not officially foreclosed on anybody. Knock on wood. What I have done, so let me tell a couple stories. As the seller on seller financing, and in both cases, let's see. In both cases, it was contract for deed. So I was the seller via contract for deed, which like I was showing you on the screen there, like of those different methods. I like that contract for deed method because it allows me to do what I did in both of these situations. So story number one, let's see. I had a mosquito just flew in here. I'll watch him. Anyway, so in fact, let me close this window real fast. So the first option, I sold a house to a gal on seller financing for $450,000, I think it was. She put like $127,000 down. So she put like a ton of skin in the game. And she never lived in the house. She was Airbnb-ing it. It was kind of by the airport in Utah. And so she was Airbnb-ing it. Did great for several months. And then one day just stopped making the payment. And I sometimes I'm too nice for my own good. Sometimes. But thankfully all the documents, if I want to use what is allowed to me within the laws, then I can do them. I typically choose to be just more gracious, I guess. I choose to extend more grace than even what the laws allow for me to do. So she stopped making the payment. And I didn't start foreclosure immediately. I was like, hey, like, let's try and figure this out. In other words, communication is key. All wealth is built through conversation. And if I can have a conversation with the person, then I usually tell them like, hey, I don't want to foreclose on you, but let's figure this out. And so I think she was like 40 days late. And I was trying and trying and trying, and she would talk to me. But finally, I was just like, okay, I'm not getting anywhere. She's just giving me the runaround, whatever. And so I hired the attorney to just start the foreclosure process. And that was it. So they started it. They sent some letters. Again, the laws protect her too, my buyer, where we file some paperwork and then we wait. The allotted state of Utah, what they have designated, like, hey, here's your, I think they call it redemption period. And so I file paperwork and then there's a redemption period. And so we waited the redemption period. We're actually about to go to phase 2 where we file more paperwork and then there's a redemption period. And then she paid everything all up, good to go. And so clean. But then she didn't make the payment for the next month. And then we ran 30 days late. By the time we hit about 40-ish days late, I was just like, hey, like, I don't want to have to do this again, because she, not only did she catch up the previous, I think it was 2 payments at that point, but caught up 2 payments plus late fees plus attorney's fees. Like, she had to pay all that to just catch up. I just said, hey, instead of doing all this again, what if, because I knew that she was trying to cash flow this. I said, what if you just give me control of the house, I will go and do what I do best, get somebody in this house that's willing to pay on a very regular basis. I told her, I said, I know you're trying to cash flow this, and it's just obviously not working. And so if you make my life easy, I'll make your life easy. I don't want to foreclose on you. I don't want to just take everything. So if you give me control of the house, AKA like almost the same thing as a foreclosure, but she just like signs the paperwork and says, here you go. And I said, so if you give me control of the house, I will do what I do best. I will find somebody who is willing to pay and put skin in the game. And mark my words, if I can get even $1 above what your payment was supposed to be, I will give you cash flow for the rest of however long I have this house. And she was just like, done. Where do I sign? Darn, I closed the window and now the mosquito is trying to get out the window. Anyway. So, and she was like, done. Where do I sign? So in the contract for deed, we didn't have to go to a title company to do any of this. We basically just signed on a DocuSign, a cancellation, and which basically just removed her obligation to make the payment at that point. I took over the house. I was already on title, but basically we reneged the existing contract, which legally allowed me to then market the house anyway. So I put it on the market. I hired a realtor, whole 9 yards. Found a seller that put, I think it was, I sold the house again for $450,000. Sold it for the new buyer, and I did this intentionally because I wanted to help her. I wanted to make the payment bigger than what she was. And so I decided I wanted a smaller down payment this time because, again, I'm trying to help her. And so I accepted only 10% down. So instead of 127,000 from her, 10% down, so 45,000 from the new buyer, which meant that the new buyer's payment was bigger than hers was. And so even to this day, she gets not a check, but it's all automated. The new buyer pays the payment to my payment processor, and the payment processor divvies it out. They give me my portion and they give her ACH. There you go. They give her the ACH direct deposit to her bank account every single month. Now it's after, it's not like we didn't do seller financing from her where if my new buyer doesn't pay, she doesn't get a payment either. But she basically gets cash flow every single month. Even to this day, she's still getting that. And I can't remember how many years we've gone on like this, but it's been a minute. And she's been getting that cash flow. And so I can say I didn't foreclose because I didn't pay the attorney's fees to foreclose. Back to the all wealth is built through conversation. We were able to have a conversation and able to say, okay, let's figure this out. Let's give her what she wants in exchange for what I want, or vice versa. And she's like, oh, and she was like, thank you so much. Because again, yeah, maybe she's not cash flowing as much as like her original goals were, but she didn't lose everything and she still cash flows. And it's something. So there's one story. I just wrapped up another one actually.
So is that like she's arbitraging in a sense?
Yeah, kinda. I mean, she is not owed anything anymore. That $21,000, like I did earmark to get that back. So she still lost some money, the down payment, but she's still cash flowing, and so she's getting way better than she would have gotten had she just said, no, I'm going to try and figure it out within what I'm allowed to figure out. You know, she would have had to try and sell this house before the waiting period, or she would have had to basically try to do what I was doing, try and sell it on seller financing, and you know, twice removed, I guess, at that point, which I have done, but yeah. Did I answer your question? Was it last?
Yeah, no, you did. I guess to be a little bit more specific with my question is, you know, my goal is to do houses that are more more down the lines of your price points.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm just
you're asking about downsides. So
yeah.
So I guess you could say that was my downside. When will this video be on your YouTube channel? Michael, will you chime in on that?
Usually does it in the next few days.
Yeah, so you're asking about downsides. Like I can't think of a downside that is ever any worse than trying to apples a traditional rental. Like it's never worse than a traditional rental because you don't have the aspect of like tenants and destroying the property and like any of the things that I would consider downside. It's still not as big of a downside as a traditional rental. Like that was my downside. I had to resell the property, kept the down payment. To this day, have not never really saw this house, like, and so yeah, like you could say like for that type of a strategy, like yeah, that was a downside. I had you know what? Here's I guess a downside, but again, like it's no different than a tenant than a rental. I had to make the payment. I think that took me 3 total months, and I had an underlying mortgage, and so I made 3 payments to the underlying mortgage. But again, I sold the house on seller financing a second time, 45,000 down. Like I got reimbursed all the payments that I made and then some with that second down payment. And so downside, like, yeah, like sure, I had to float the payment for 3 months. But I don't know about you, but for some reason that's not a downside to me.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah. I think, yeah.
Yeah, because I got a big down payment from her and I got a down payment from my second buyer. And so I was reimbursed all the payments I was out. Now, let's say that I couldn't sell it or whatever, then yeah, I would have been out of pocket. But again, let's say I sold it outright because I couldn't find a second buyer. I'd have been cashed out a lot bigger than the 45,000 on the second sale because of all the equity I had. I probably would have cashed out like closer to 100 grand or something. And so still like making the payment for 3 months. Well, like so there's a downside, I guess, is if you want to save your credit and your credit's on the line, if they don't pay, then you pay the monthly payment just to save your credit. And while you're, but again, a tenant would be like that. If you have a tenant just go vacant, like, hey, we're gonna like if you don't have to kick anybody out, like they're just like, hey, we're gonna move, and our lease is up, then the landlord ends up making the payment while the renter is out, and typically a move-in deposit is like 1 month of rent. And so a landlord never makes up for, let's say they only had to make one payment before the new renter moved in. The landlord was still worse off than I was making 3 payments because I got a big down payment on the second seller finance, if that makes sense. So again, like, yeah, I could argue, yeah, there's a downside of I had to make a payment. But
So quick question for you. Like, so right now, currently what I'm doing is like 2 years on a lease option. And then as long as I'm comfortable with them, I move them over to a seller finance. Is there a reason you don't do, and I'm thinking about maybe scaling it down to 1, but is there a reason you don't do lease options and you just go right into contract for deed?
I do lease options.
Oh, but yeah, but aren't they like a month or 2 only?
I've had some go years. I've had some go months. It just depends.
So okay, maybe I've missed that. So you do lease options before you move them over.
Mine always start as a lease option, except for I just did one that we didn't do the lease option, but it was because of the end goal for my client. Actually, I take it back. There's 2 times I didn't do a lease option. Let's see. No, there's only one. There's only one time I didn't do a lease option up front. And so we don't necessarily need to get like too deep into the weeds on this one, but I had a contract for deed. The husband passed away, and the wife couldn't make the payment. And so instead of telling her like, hey, I'm going to foreclose, I was like, hey, I don't want to foreclose on you. Let's figure this out. And I just said, if you'll make my life easy, I'll make yours easy. If you will give me control of the house, I'll do what I do best. And I will basically earmark and say, here's your equity, and say like, hey, this is owed to you. So even if you turn the house over to me or give me control of the house, I'll do what I do best, and I'll sell it on seller financing again. And I will cash you out your equity when I do. Or depending on how it's structured, let's say I cash you out of some of your equity with the down payment, and if there's anything left over, then same thing, I will give you monthly cash flow. And she was just like, done. Where do I sign? So we did that, and then I sold the house on seller financing again. Now my new client, their intention is to fix up the house. So it's actually interesting because I sold this house to this person for less than I bought it for. So in other words, on paper, a paper loss. However, when I ran all my math, like the down payment that I got originally, and the new down payment I received from the new buyer and the cash flow that I'll receive, I was like, hey, I'm still making money on this, even though technically I sold the house the second time for less than I bought it for. And let's see, and basically got the second down payment. So still worked out. Arguably could be like, oh, like on pay, it wasn't a true loss though. Like if I track the money, it wasn't a loss. But on paper, it might look like it because again, I sold the house for less than I bought it for. But at the end of the day, sold the house on seller financing a second time, got that second down payment. I cashed out. She only had a little bit of equity anyway, but I cashed out the equity that she had. And in this case, because my new client, their intention, and this house was bad. Like this house was ugly. It was not very well taken care of. It was, they were hoarders. It was a mess, absolute mess. And so I call this a huge win because sold it on seller financing a second time for lower dollars than I bought it for because they didn't take care of it. And still money ahead. But we did an all-inclusive trust deed on this second seller financing because this person's goal is to fix it up and refinance me out like within 3 to 6 months. And so in that case, I was like, okay, yeah, we want you on title so that you can refinance. And so I'm fine doing an all-inclusive trust deed. And so yeah, sold the house on a contract for deed the first time. Now this second time is a all-inclusive trust deed. And it was really funny because I happened to know this person. They were actually, in fact, I think I told this story. This person called me and said, "Hey, Daine, can I get a proof of funds? I want to make an offer on a house in Wellington." And I was like, "Wellington? Like, that's like a population 300 town or something like that, very small town." I was like, "Is the house on Main Street?" And he's like, "No, no, no." Because so Main Street in Wellington is not like what you would think is a main street. It's like the highway. The highway is called Main Street. And so he's like, "No, no, no, it's not like in town." I was like, "Okay, fine." And he starts telling me more about the property, and I'm like, "Dude, are you sure this is not on Main Street?" And he pulls up the address. Like, "Yeah, actually it is on Main Street." I was like, "Dude, this is my house." And so he was trying to get a proof of funds from me to make an offer on a house that I own so that he could get a hard money loan to buy the house, fix it up, and refinance my hard money loan out. And I was like, "Dude, let me save you money." And so ended up doing, technically I could have done that for him and made a little more money, but I was like, "You know what, dude? I'm fine. Let's just make this quick and easy." And so did the all-inclusive trust deed. So but yeah. Yeah, and it's, and I don't know why necessarily I chose the route to say, "Hey, yeah, I'll make a little less money." Because again, I was making my money. Like, I'm fine. I was able to tell this person, like, "Yeah, let me save you money by doing it this way." And probably like we hear about the five, Mitch talks about the five currencies of time is the most valuable because you can't buy it back, you can't get it back. So time, knowledge, relationships, credit or credibility, and last is money of the five currencies. Like, in my opinion on this, I had an exchange of building relationship currency with this person. Because again, I know this person, I've done deals with this person. And so was able to build some relationship currency with this person that I'm gonna guess is gonna pay dividends in the future, not only in future deals, but referrals. Because this person's like, "Dude, yeah, talk to Daine. Like, he's not just like money hungry. He took care of me on this, whatever." And he'll tell his story because I saved him money. And so it just means more deals. So I'm trying to remember why again, could have looked at this as like, "Hey, this was a major downside," because again, I had to make the payments while I did that, got reimbursed everything. However, the house was in worse condition in this one scenario than it was when I bought it because they didn't take care of it. And so again, downside, but it still turned it into lemonade. And to this day, I've never even seen this house one time for all the years that I made money on it. So yeah, I'm trying to think of downsides. Now, I guess a downside could be that they like pour concrete in the toilets. If let's say you're foreclosing on them, and again, this is why I'd say conversation, like being a polite person, being a loving person, being a caring person. And if you're a mean person, it puts ideas into people's minds when you're mean to them. And so that's where you have these stories of people, pouring concrete down the toilets and doing all these crazy things. So yeah, like that could be a downside if you're ever foreclosing on somebody, they like trash the place. I mean, I guess there's insurance, but anyway, in my opinion, all wealth is built through conversation. Even like I said, the five currencies, relationship currency, building relationship wealth by being a kind, loving person. Like, "Hey, let's figure this out. Let's help you. Let's do something where everybody can say thank you in the whole transaction." Yeah, I'm trying to think of other downsides that wouldn't be the same as like a rental property. I can't think of any.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's always good just to hear your stories.
Yeah. But yeah, great questions. Anybody else? Or Tamara, did I answer your question?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Okay. Just want to make sure that you got what you came for.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool. All right, we got 10 more minutes. More questions, comments? Anything for you guys.
Hey, Dane
Yo.
or Michael. Um, I'm pretty sure I have Michael's YouTube, but Michael, do you know when this is up for us to watch again? Because I've been taking notes as fast as I can, but there's definitely stuff I want to go back and listen to.
Yeah, usually 48 hours ish. We get them uploaded. So yeah, I'll drop the link in here right now for you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Beautiful. Cool. Anybody else? Questions, comments, deer in the headlight moment that we can help you with?
Okay, there's the link in the chat.
Hey, Dane,
Yo.
like this Wellington property, how do you list them? Is there a way
I
that
just hire a
someone...
realtor. So,
okay. And so they list them. Okay.
Yeah, so hire a traditional realtor. However, in the checkbox, let's see if I could, I'm trying to think if I have a very fast way I could like show you this. I'll just tell you about it though, because I'd have to like log in and search for it. But when the realtor lists a house, they're going to check a box to say, hey, we will accept these kinds of offers. More often than not, it's like, we will accept FHA, we will accept conventional financing, we will accept cash. And there's a box that says seller financing. And so I just train my realtors to say, hey, check that box, check the box seller financing available, because it's going to change parameters for buyers that have their hot sheets set up, or essentially like whenever a house gets listed and the box seller financing is checked, there are people that have notifications that be like, oh, somebody just listed on seller financing, let's look at it. And so I always check the box seller financing. And in the remarks, so not necessarily customer facing, but agent facing, so the agent can see this. In the remarks, I typically like to say, I'm trying to remember who I just went over this with somebody. I told the story. I told the story at Maylee's event. So talking about I was talking to an agent. So I tell the agent like, hey, you're gonna get everyone and their mom that comes to you when you check that box seller financing, because they have the hot sheets set up where they get notified, and they ready, fire, aim. They are trained the same way we are in our education to ready, fire, aim. And so if you just check the box seller financing and leave it blank, leave everything else blank, you're going to get people that are just like, oh, I'll give you $3,000 down at 2% interest. and you get all kinds of people that just offer you basically nothing when you say seller financing, right? They will come and they will flood your inbox. They will flood your text messages, your phone calls, whatever, right in the beginning when you list it. Because again, it's their strategy. Ready, fire, aim, basically. So I always say two things when I list on seller financing. One, owner occupied only. Personal preference. Now, yes, I did help that gal that was doing the Airbnb, but again, like they're not my favorite deals to do, because the only way that she could potentially cash flow that house was if she did the Airbnb strategy. But again, in my opinion, Airbnb is kind of volatile. Like you make a bunch of money 1 month and you make none the next sometimes. And so I don't love it. Anyway, neither here nor there. Owner occupied. So check the box seller financing, but owner occupied only in the agent remarks is all we will accept. So if you're not owner occupied, don't even bother. Like if you're an investor, this won't work for you. Sorry. So owner occupied. The second thing that I say is I give my down payment minimum and say like, hey, minimum 10% down, minimum 20% down, whatever it is that I want on that house. Obviously, the smaller down payment, the more buyers you'll potentially have. If you do a 10%, there's a lot more people that have 10% down than there are that have 20% down. And I've done it both ways. Like there was a couple houses where I was like, oh, I really want 20% down on this one because I know what I'm going to do with that money. And so I say, in those agent remarks, owner occupied, 20% down. And I wait around, you know, they're like the most recent one I did like that. I mean, I had to wait like 4 or 5 months for somebody to come along and buy the house that had 20% down. But if you do the smaller down payment, you'll find them faster. And so, which again, the other story I had, actually the other two stories I told today, that was why I did 10% down on both of them. Because, you know, I wanted a buyer that came along a little faster. And I didn't need money out of it for anything, or need or want money out of it for anything. I just wanted a new buyer in there. And technically, I mentioned this on the first one, technically, oftentimes I'll get a bigger payment because smaller down payment means bigger monthly payment. And so, obviously it depends on rate and stuff like that, but all negotiable. Typically though, smaller down payment means bigger monthly payment. But yeah, I'm trying to remember what Gary's question was. Did I answer it?
Yep, you did.
Okay,
Thank
good.
you.
So, but yeah, great question. Any more? We got just a few more minutes.
Yeah, this is fantastic stuff. You know, people are just absorbing it, getting ready to take action. Others are taking action. It's great to see. Got a few new people who don't even know what the heck you're talking about. That's always awesome.
Just stick around. It'll make sense very quick. I can't remember who it was that I was talking to. I think it was at Maylee's event. Somebody came up to me and was like, Daine, I actually heard you speak like when I joined years ago. And then listening to you today, I'm like, you know, back then they were like, I didn't know a dang thing you said, but this time I was able to follow along the whole time. And they're like, now I understand what you were saying all those years ago. Like,
Nice.
now this makes sense. So yeah, if you're like, this doesn't make sense, stick around. Keep hearing it. You know, repetition is the mother of all learning. And so
Let's let's wrap this up with take us down your study habits when you still had a job and you were still ignorant of the whole industry. How did you make the most of your study time?
non-negotiable. I basically would just say non-negotiable. Like I basically I never graduated college, but I took a few college courses. And when you take a college course, you basically sign up to say, "Oh, I'm going to take this class, and looks like this class is offered Tuesdays and Thursdays at this time of day. Looks like, or I can do Mondays and Wednesdays this time of day or whatever." And so when you take college courses like that, like you get to choose and say, okay, but at the same time, it's like within these parameters, and it's the same every single week. And so I just treated it the same as like when I was taking college classes and said, okay, Renatus study time is non-negotiable on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I don't remember what it was because it was like this November, it'll mark 10 years since I joined Renatus. And so I don't remember exactly what the times, but I remember this was the mentality. And I said, okay, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or whatever it was, at 3 o'clock. And usually it was some kind of a trigger. I would say Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I usually get off work at this time, or I have to go to work at this time. And so non-negotiable, I am watching classes no matter what is going on. The only time I might miss is for like a wedding or a family reunion. Like other than that, like I don't miss college classes because I paid for them. Like when I signed up for college classes, I paid to be there in those classes. And so I treated it the same when I joined Renatus. I said, all right, these days, these times, I would put it as a recurring event in my calendar that recurred on a week, you know, basically repeated on a weekly basis. And it was non-negotiable. If anybody was like, hey, Daine, do you want to hang out on this time or this day? If I looked at my calendar and it said that, no, I'm watching Renatus classes, I'd be like, no, can you do it after this hour though? Or could you do it on this day? I wouldn't trade it for anything except for like weddings and like family reunion. I'm trying to think if there's any other reason that I would miss. Or if I had court, but I never had court at that time of my life. But
Non-negotiable.
yeah,
That's the difference.
and that's how I was able to bust out the entire essentials. And I think I watched the fix and flip track first in like just over a month. Busted all of it out. and started looking for deals.
Nice. And it's been working ever since. So folks,
Yeah.
be non-negotiable about your business, about your education, about your family time, about your health. Just, you know, block them out, non-negotiable. Put your
Treat it
phone
like
on
you paid
airplane
for it.
mode more than you need to. What was that?
Treat it like you paid for it.
There you go. Well said.
Because
All
technically
right,
you did.
folks. We'll go out there, get some recruiting done, bring some more people to this call next week, make some money, make some sales, make a difference. Appreciate you, Daine. Thanks for being here.
Sure,
Everybody
yo.
else, Gary, Tamara, Aubrey, Carla, Gilda, all you participating. Appreciate you all. And we will see you all very soon. Bye for now.
Perfect.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Daine.
guys.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you so much. Working on my SPR property that have things to work on after like a whole bunch of people that stayed there. So
Nice.
We'll keep your eyes on the prize, folks. We'll see you
yeah,
soon.
it's a pretty good thing, you know. It's nice to have, you know, we're blessed to have, you know, those challenges because it means that we have rentals, right? So if we
Yeah,
and instead of complaining, right? So
yeah, make the
anyway,
best
thank
of
you
it.
so much.
Yeah, appreciate you, Gilda. Bye, everybody.
You know, one of the funniest
You.
things is my son complains about landlords being terrible. But when I ask him if he wants to be a landlord, he says, "Oh no, I don't want to rip people off." He's literally got a house full of people who are not paying him rent, and he's struggling financially because he's paying everything out of his own pocket. He's got that mental block his wife gave him.
Yeah, got to work on those. You got to work on them. Do the deep work and it'll pay off, folks. Okay, appreciate you all. Mwah. Bye.